Anybody know what the Innovation Hub is?
You will by
You've
the
been
end.
in for a good surprise, so, okay, so, thank you for being here, Ken.
Thanks. So let's go around real quick. I want to know your majors. Are you here with a team? Are you in the Innovation Challenge? I assume almost everybody is, not everybody. But let me know who you are, starting here.
I'm Skylar. My major is exercise physiology, and this is like a makeup assignment
Oh,
for
cool.
my classes.
Awesome. Exciting.
I'm Bailey.
Happy.
I'm an ICT major.
All right.
I'm here for the class too.
What class is this?
Emerging technologies.
Oh, okay. Who's your teacher? Jonathan Adams?
Yes.
All right, cool.
I'm Isaiah. My major is economics, and I'm here with the class as well.
How many here are here with the class? Wow, okay. Well, that's good. It's good exposure. What I'm talking about today has a lot to do with, more to do that with everybody than it has with I can't even say it anymore, Wendy. I'm out of InNOLevation Challenge. There's so many of these competitions. There's Inventure Prize, and you get confused. Let's go around real quick here. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Justin. I'm athletic training major.
Cool.
I'm Kyle. I'm an entrepreneurship major. I'm in the InNOLevation Challenge.
Cool. Good to see you again, Kyle.
Nice to see you.
I'm Dalton. I'm a mechanical engineering major. I'm in the InNOLevation Challenge.
Is anybody here with a team for InNOLevation Challenge, or are you guys kind of representing your team?
Yeah,
Yeah.
representing.
All right. Cool.
I'm Dylan. I'm a psychology and business student.
Cool.
My name is Luigi Rajan. I study chemical engineering.
All right. Great. Another engineer.
Bryce, economics.
Brandon, I'm legal science, and I'm here for college.
Cool. And what's your name, major?
Billy, ICT.
ICT. You here for the makeup?
Yeah.
Sir.
I'm Vincent. And I'm majoring in entrepreneurship. I'm here for the InNOLevation Challenge as well. And I'm Peyton. We're on the team.
All right.
Entrepreneurship major.
Was there any more on your team, or just the?
Yeah, well, more so.
Nicholas Cooper, biomedical engineering. I'm part of IT too, but
Awesome.
me and Luis are doing and a couple other guys are putting stuff together for the InNOLevation Challenge.
Cool. Does that have anything to do with iJob, or is it something?
It's bio-related, but
All right,
it's not
cool.
specifically.
That'll be me. Yeah. So with InNOLeVation, you guys know what the InNOLeVation Challenge is? Now that I can say it. So it's a competition that takes place in the spring, but it runs almost the whole academic year. It starts the second week of the semester with students coming up with ideas for businesses. We encourage teamwork in this, and the process of the InNOLeVation Challenge is a contest, but really the value is in the educational experience that you get through the process. So this workshop is one of 9 workshops that deal with some part of the process of inventing or creating a business. And this is the prototyping session we're talking about today. So it's not too late to enter. Any business idea can go for it. You never know. It could just, take off.
Deadline extended to November 3rd.
Yeah,
And it's literally just your value proposition to apply for.
right. So just what's your idea, basically. That's the first part of the application. So as you learn through the workshops, you fill out the application with more information about what your business does. You start figuring out how you're going to make money, and if there's competition in the market, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can change your idea and your teammates until January 16th submission. So
Right.
right now it's
Any
very early.
major, any ideas? We have, of course, a lot of entrepreneurship majors here. We have engineering majors. They got more heavily involved last year. Now we're bringing in the biosciences, which is really exciting because of some of Dr. Rodriguez's work in hacking cells, bioengineering and things, and coming up with new biological components that do stuff that they're engineered to do. It's really cool. So it's finally turning into kind of a more interdisciplinary work. And that's some of what I'm going to talk about today is really the value of building teams that have a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different skill sets. There's just a few really important points I want to kind of push home today with this discussion about prototyping. I mean, use the opportunity of prototyping to talk about all kinds of stuff. I think is useful to all college students and adults and kids. So you'll notice there's kind of a little sequence of cells here. You guys that know me know that I'm crazy about this process called design thinking, which is an innovation framework. And I'll be showing you that at FSU's Innovation Hub at the end of this little talk. We're going to have an innovation hub on campus here in the Shores building on Landis Green that supports the process of design thinking. And what design thinking is, it's a way, you know, a lot of us get ideas, you know, like, oh man, I could make an app that could find me a parking space. That's a popular one, you know, or I could do this or I could do that, but it's just your idea. You know, the whole concept of design thinking is figuring out what the real issues are besides just those of your own limited experience, and then bringing a group of people around coming up with solutions that are going to be that ultimately result in the best solution for the most amount of people. It's a human-centered design. So this is the process of design thinking, and this group had a design thinking workshop 2 weeks ago, in which I understand, who was here for Bruce Manciagli's session. I understand you guys were making stuff with cardboard and tinfoil and stuff. There's all different types of prototyping. But design thinking, well, design thinking begins with an empathy stage where you have a problem, you have a design challenge, and it could be anything. You know, when I was up in Washington, D.C. at a design thinking boot camp, we were designing a way to integrate prisoners back into society when they get out of federal penitentiary, how to get them jobs, how to make them entrepreneurs, things like that. So it could be social issues, it could be you know, a new way of delivering groceries, a new app, a new type of backpack, you know, it could be anything. But the empathy stage is understanding what people think about the problem, empathizing with people's thoughts. Then you define maybe the problem you set out to tackle. After you empathize with it, you realize that's really not the problem at all. This is the problem as we see it now that we understand and empathize. And so you define or reframe your question. You go through ideation, where there's all different types of processes where you come up with ideas with your group. And then you prototype your idea. And this is what we're going to focus on today, this prototyping stage. It's kind of a fun stage of the process. Then you test it. And at that point, you're ready to roll it up, make money, improve the world, whatever your goals happen to be. So design thinking is, I think, an attractive methodology because, for one thing, design thinkers pride themselves on attacking ambiguous, complex, gnarly, wicked problems. So design thinking could be leveraged to attack climate change, you know, overpopulation, food deserts, all these huge, really difficult problems. Design thinking is perfect for attacking those problems. Design thinking is based on empathy. It's a human-centered design. So it's all about serving humans, and of course, as we serve humans, we're also serving the planet. We're taking care of our environment. We're making life better. Open-minded exploration. When you come into design thinking, and just like entrepreneurs, don't come in with your preconceived notions about, well, this is the way that you solve this problem. I know because I've seen it done this way before. Come at it with a totally open mind, open to all different types of new alternatives. Because people have been around for a long time, and we have to start developing new ideas, not just those based on everything we've ever experienced in our history. Extreme collaboration and diversity, so people working together, and tangible and testable solutions. So this is where the prototyping comes in. Because of the process, by the end of this process, we can prove that the solution we've come up with is the absolute best solution that's able to be designed. Pretty powerful stuff, right? And those of you in the competition, that's what you want to do. When you get up to pitch your idea in front of the judges, you want to be able to tell them that we came up with this product and it's the absolute best product of its type, and here's how we can prove it. Prototyping is all part of that, right? A little bit more, just one more slide on design thinking, and we'll move on. So, design thinking, these are the stages of design thinking again. Design thinking uses this idea of divergent and convergent processes. So you start off saying, okay, we have a problem, we have a challenge, we're going to come up with a solution. Let's explore it. So we start diverging. You look at all aspects of the problem, everything on the fringes, everything remotely related to this issue. We start pulling in information. When we gathered all the information, we start refining it. So we start converging as we frame the problem and we say, okay, we have a thorough understanding of the problem now. This is it, and this is what we're attacking. And then you start diverging again, saying, all right, well, what kind of solutions can we have? We start thinking outside of the box, brainstorming, coming up with all different types of ideas. So now we've got a ton of different ideas here. So let's start testing them to see which ones are viable and which ones are going to serve our needs best. So that's where prototyping comes in. Starting to build things, getting things out of our head into the physical world. And then, of course, testing. And as we go through this prototyping and testing stage, we're really zeroing in. And by the way, those of you in the contest are going to become very familiar with the business model canvas. And this is complementary, this design thinking process is complementary to the business model canvas, where you actually start defining who your customers are, what the market is like, and things like that. So as we converge down, we finally come to the final product that we're ready to pitch. And so that's the goal. And we do this through iterating and iterating and iterating. Prototyping something, pulling in feedback, refining it, putting it out there again and seeing what people think. All right, nobody creates a slide like this because they want you to read it. I just wanted to make a point here. This is the overview of the InNOLEvation Challenge. What's the website? Jim Moran School?
.fsu.edu. And then it's under Center for Student Engagement drop down.
Yeah, or do like I did and just Google FSU InNOLEvation Challenge and you go right to it. So this is the overview of the competition, and these are the judging criteria. And what I did was I just copied and pasted all of this into a word cloud generator. And so the largest words here are the words that occur most in that overview and judging criteria. So what do we see is the biggest word here? Business. Go figure. So yeah, you're creating a business here, so chances are it's going to be a big word. What's another big word here? Assumptions, yes, and that's what we're dealing with right now. And I think in the competition and in life in general, it's important that we kind of keep away from making assumptions about how the world makes based on our own perspective. And so what we want to do is we want to test our assumptions. And when it comes to judging in our competition, you're going to earn all kinds of points if you can say, I came at this problem, or we came at this problem with these assumptions. We developed this solution, we created a prototype, and we took it out to the world. And we discovered that our assumptions were mostly right, but were wrong on a number of accounts. And so we went back and we refined our product and took another prototype out and we checked it again, and there was still an issue. If you can make a case or tell the story about how you had a great idea and it was mostly on the mark and how you tested it with a particular market, with a specific type of population, your target customers or whatever, you'll have a much better chance of taking home how much?
10,000.
20,000. the money, the prizes. All right, so this is what prototyping is all about. Testing your assumption. And actually in the overview and the judging criteria, this is where these words come out. So you want to build effective teams, precisely define the assumptions of a new venture, and then test those assumptions in the field, and then pivoting based on lessons learned. That's the whole point of this competition. Getting outside the building, testing your assumption with customers. This is one of the criteria for judging. Learning to pivot or change until arriving at a customer-validated business model. Has your team developed a prototype or minimum viable product? Does your team have significant evidence that the solution is validated? So that's what prototyping is all about. So as you're developing your business and getting towards the deadline, make sure to carve out some time where you have several weeks where you're going to sit and prototype and validate and prove that your idea is market proof. All right, so some strategies. And I've got some resources I'd like to share with you here. First off, prototyping is, like I say, it's getting your ideas out of your head into the physical world. And design thinking has taught us that the sooner you can do this, the better. The more you bake things in your brain and just try to figure them out in this, totally open atmosphere, which is your wandering thoughts, the thought is that you're really wasting a lot of time. If you have a concept and you think it's good, make it, build it, draw it, get it out on paper so you can start analyzing it visually, tactily. If it's not a word, it should be. And so the whole benefit of prototyping is, first off, as you prototype and share your idea, you start to understand how people react to it. So you start to empathize with how people are feeling about your product. Of course, you're exploring and testing ideas. This prototype doesn't work. And we're talking about what we call very low resolution prototypes. Start very general. I want to make this thing is going to be a box. So, make a little box and just see how it feels, and maybe you draw a button on it, and see what that's like. And so you take it out there, you say, what do you think? How does this feel in your hand? How does that button position with your thumb? So you're exploring and testing your ideas, crank out another one if it doesn't work, but it's a low fidelity prototype. It's easy to put out there. It reveals new perspectives from other people giving you their ideas, solves disagreements. If you and your team members have different ideas about how to go about developing a product, this is the way to figure it out. Let people decide which they like better. It starts a conversation about what you're trying to do, so you can collect information about the people who are giving you feedback. It lets you fail quickly and cheaply. Maybe your whole idea stinks and you need to start from scratch. The sooner you find that out, the better. So if you're just thinking about it and not sharing it with the world, you're not going to get that feedback to let you know that you're on the wrong track. And it helps you manage the development process. So you're moving from iterating from one stage to another, and you can track which little tiny tweaks you're making to your product. And how So we're going to talk a little while. We're talking about prototyping. A lot of people think about prototyping as physical products, but you can prototype anything. So we're talking about apps, we're talking about physical products, we're talking about systems and services. You can prototype anything. There's a book out called Designing Your Life. Did I already recommend it to you? Designing Your Life, I recommend it to every student on every occasion I can because it's the most popular course at Stanford right now, out of Stanford D School. And it applies design thinking to planning the rest of your life. And it's perfect for students as they search for majors. It's perfect for me if I get tired of my job and want to look for a new career. It's a really cool book. But you can prototype your life. You can go out and test different ideas about how you're going to lead your life and what kind of careers you're going to chase and what's important to you. Designing your life. Got it. So there's lots of ways to prototype. You don't have to build a thing. You can simply start analyzing people. So you can start with personas. Here, this is really tiny and blurry, but here we have some kind of product that helps students learn foreign languages. And so they start with developing a persona for a teacher named Marilyn. So what is Marilyn doing? What's her job teaching in school, and what are the challenges she faces? So you start looking at who are the people who are going to be using your solution or product. And then you can create a storyboard and show how Marilyn first is exposed to your product. How did she discover it? And how did she learn more about it? And how did she use it with her students? Just a simple cartoon type of storyboard that describes one persona and how they interact with your product from discovery all the way to the point where she might be recommending it to other teachers. How does this all work? And what are the touch points between your business and this person? So let me get somebody else to talk at you for just a moment, give you a break from my voice. Did we check the sound on this already?
No. It worked last time though.
Okay, we'll just open the
The
best.
volume's loud.
Yeah, looks like
Storyboarding is a tool that we use to tie together a lot of the different ideas and concepts that we have into one coherent story, all centered around the user that we're designing for. This came in really handy in Ghana when we're designing a better customer experience for a mobile money product in low-income communities. So what the team did was to just sketch all the different moments in the experience. And at the beginning, we asked for our customer named Anna, how would she discover our amazing customer service kiosk? What would she do next? Would she come back? And by the end, how would it actually help her in her everyday life? Would it even help her achieve her dreams? Storyboarding helped us ground ourselves in that first-person experience, which is central to painting.
Thank you. All right. So a little bit about personas, storytelling, and storyboarding.
Strong partnerships are critical in taking any design effort forward. We found this to be especially true over the course of the past year.
And building
As we've been
partnerships.
designing-
So there's some resources I want to share with you. That video came from one resource we'll look at in a second. But design thinking and this prototyping stage, there's two good resources. One is Stanford's D School. I've already mentioned this before. And at Stanford's D School, they have a number of ways to learn about design thinking. And I don't know, perhaps Bruce even used one of their tools here, but they have the virtual crash course in design thinking, all kinds of stuff here. The one that I use is this one here, which for creative people who want to develop solutions, this is a free tool. It's just a PDF. Let's see if it'll treat me right here. Called the Bootcamp Bootleg. What they have here is a whole bunch of just little cards. So what design thinking comes down to is various methods. First off, they talk about what the 5 stages of design thinking is all about. But these are the methods. Assume a beginner's mindset, what, how, and why. Just little exercises you do by yourself or with your group to empathize with the problem and develop solutions. Interviewing for empathy, extreme users, getting to know people who use products in unique ways, at the fringes, analog empathy. So anyway, this is a great resource. There's a few that come out of prototyping. Prototyping for empathy, that is a way to see how people feel about what you've made, and there's very slight differences between all of these. Prototyping to test some type of feature on your product. Prototyping to decide which direction to go, giving people different options. User-driven prototyping lets you ask people to show me how you would like this thing to work if you were designing it. Testing with users is more towards the end of your prototyping. And then a feedback capture grid allows you to take the information you receive, or your feedback you receive, and essentially divide it between positive things people said about what they learned about your prototype, negative questions that arose, and new ideas that came out. Design thinking is all about post-it notes. It's always kind of arranging, and that's all part of getting your ideas out in the public as soon as possible. Put them on a little piece of paper, put them on a board, start grouping things, see patterns, and see what emerges. All right, lost myself in my head. So we were here. The other resource I have for you is from IDEO. This is really useful. IDEO is hand in hand with Stanford D School with all of this stuff. IDEO is one of the world's most popular and biggest design firms. They're hired by companies to design things. And just a bit about design firms. I've been studying design thinking for the past couple of years when I visited Chicago. Went to the Illinois Institute of Technology where they have a huge design program there, and we looked at design thinking in higher ed for a couple of days. While I was up there, I got to tour 3 of the really large large commercial design firms. And so Nike and Home Depot, they hire these design firms, they give them a challenge, how are we going to make our, terrible coming up with examples on the fly, how are we going to make our power drills more attractive to women shoppers? That's a good design challenge, right? And they'll hire a company to actually come up with a whole plan for how to do this, and maybe coming up with new tools, designing new tools, or new marketing. So I went into these design firms, and they had us like check our cell phones at the door because they're working on all this top secret type of development. And what I learned was amazing. What they do is they have professionals in all different industries: communication, computer science, engineering, business. And they'll get a contract with a major company to design a new product or a new service. And they will assemble a team, say, okay, well, we need these 5 specialists. And these specialists don't just do one thing. They have depth in one area, but breadth across many different areas of expertise. And they'll give them a 12 by 12 area with whiteboards all around and say, we think you should be able to do this in 4 months. So this is a 4-month project. The 5 of you are working on this over the next 4 months, and then you have a solution for us. Young people, mostly in their 20s, early 30s, and they hammer away. And this is what's happening. These are companies outsourcing their design, and if they're hiring companies to do this outside, they're starting to develop these same strategies within the organization. So when I saw this going on across organizations in Chicago, I realized that this is the future of industry. Industry is under huge pressure to innovate, come up with new solutions using new technologies. And this process of working together in smaller groups using design thinking to come up with new ideas is going to be the way of business very soon. IDEO is one such design company, but I really think that's why I'm passionate about this. Is I think we need to expose students to this whole methodology as soon as we can, because I believe the workforce you're going to enter, the workplace you're going to enter, this is going to be a key skill that you're going to be expected to know. And employers tell you this, and they say, well, the things we're looking for in students is communication skills, right? The soft skills, the ability to work in groups, the ability to work with people from other cultures. All of that stuff they want because it works in this methodology. So IDEO has a great website here. It's called Design Kit, and all it is all different types of methods, again, about how to apply these methods or methods to use to develop new innovations within the design thinking framework. So, conversation starters, expert interview, card sorting, collage, create a project plan, draw it. All of these things they have. You get down into prototyping. They talk about journey mapping, and they give you an example about how to work through a journey map. So a journey map has to do with mapping the customer experience through your product and service and how they interact with your business. They have brainstorming rules, create a concept. These aren't all prototyping. These are pulled out here. Determine what to prototype, what features you want to prototype, rapid prototyping, storyboarding, more of the same as what we've been talking about. Those are just kind of some general methods for prototyping and approaches. Now there's tools. So in the tools area, there's different tools for different types of products. We have manufactured products, apps, services, and systems, and different prototyping approaches to all of these things. All of these types of products can use those tools I just mentioned, the storyboarding and all of that. So, value of engineering. Okay, so let's see, my bag's over here. I think I brought this along. Let's see. Forgot to bring it out. I think I brought it. Oh, come on. Did I leave it in my office? All right. No, I did. Here it is. Any guesses? 21st century horseshoe,
It was
back band.
Can you break it?
pretty sure it has some Bluetooth capability.
It has some
It's like
Bluetooth
Star
capability. It's a bad band, you can try it out if you'd like.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully you don't have lice or anything. It's a
I think I turned it
open
on.
ear headphones. Okay, so it works through bone conduction. Yeah, it actually.
I've seen sunglasses
But you
that do
use that?
I think I turned it on.
Yeah.
Can we see a demonstration?
So
Yeah, you know, it's terrible. So the story of that band was 2.5 years ago. I think here's the Kickstarter page.
Too high audio phones making you deaf, just breaking your bones.
Buy it now, that band.
probably won't work through the hat.
So it was 2 years ago, I gave them $140 for that band. Nobody was even talking about this technology. Now there's like a half dozen of these things on the market. And so here's their little promo, since you're interested. Stop it. I'm gonna do something over here. Okay, so my point on this is the value of teams. For one thing, this is the Batman team. The value of engineering and prototyping. Here's a bunch of their prototypes. And there's schematics for Batman. They had it manufactured in China. It's a complicated product to develop, obviously.
Introducing Batband, the first high-fidelity bone conduction headphone. A truly groundbreaking product which makes your social lifescape compatible with your private soundscapes.
They make it sound so good.
Place it around the back of the head,
Line and sinker.
pair it to a mobile device, and enjoy the sound like never before. Hi, we're Studio Banana Things, and we're back on Kickstarter. Our dream with the Batband was to create a truly surprising and unconventional sound experience.
Batband talks directly to your inner ear, freeing your outer ear so you can stay connected with the world that surrounds you. We've been working for almost a year on a design solution that embodies the compelling qualities of bone conduction sound. The result is a discreet, intuitive, and minimalistic product.
Hello, John speaking.
Hi John, have you arrived home? And to control its features from your fingertips.
Our team has worked extremely hard to source the right technological components in order to provide the finest sound experience, while keeping the product smart, lightweight, and feasible.
How much is it for one?
Hmm?
How much is the unit price?
140.
What? Really?
It's pretty
cheaper
cheap.
than expensive.
And that thing.
Yeah, cheaper than Beats.
Yeah.
Cheaper than Beats, yeah. So anyway, I haven't given up on them yet, but to make them so you can actually hear fairly decently, you gotta really crank them up, and then everybody in the whole house can hear it. So I was thinking, it's great, I can crank up my stuff, nobody can hear it, I can hear it through my bones. But they just released the app. I got the Batband a couple weeks ago after waiting 2 years. I actually forgot I bought it. It was one of those things. And then they just released the app, and the app is supposed to allow you to go in and tweak the EQ on the sound so that you can get it just right. And so I haven't tried that in the app yet. I'll let you know. How that goes. But the point that I bring Batband in is, I mean, if you consider this, you can have an idea for a great new headphone. But the engineering is incredibly intense for this, you know, as far as, who knows, they could have created a product that just gives people migraine headaches all the time. Or, I mean, there's all kinds of safety concerns, and getting the tolerance right to the crack, all the engineering type of things that you need to consider with any physical product are important. So I think certainly maker spaces are giving us the ability to start to fabricate things and mess around with physical objects, even if we don't know what we're doing. And so in 3 areas I'm going to tell you, I think it's really important that people learn basics of things, like how to 3D print, how to design things in 3D space. But there's no way you're going to get to the skills of doing this unless you're working through an engineering degree, have a ton of experience. So my other advice is make friends with engineers. Right. I mean, your teams of inventors. I mean, nobody can solve the problems by themselves anymore. None of the major problems. It takes a team of people with diverse skills. And as entrepreneurs, as communication majors, whatever, if you can start building those bridges, especially when you're in college, when you have this whole rich environment of people with all different kinds of interests, start building those friends. Don't just make friends in your major, make friends across majors and start thinking about new ideas, right? So, you guys hear about MVP, the minimal viable product. So that means what we're looking to do for the competition is to create an MVP or a low resolution prototype, something that just shows people the capability of whatever you're creating. It doesn't have to be fleshed out. Just gets your idea across. For the competition, we just want to see that this thing is actually possible to make, whether it's an app or a physical object, and that it's possible and that people are going to want to buy it.
If it's an app, it can be like a storyboard type thing, right? Or there's Balsamic, or there's some
We'll be looking at that.
program. Okay,
Right.
so
Exactly. So, if you are a person who likes to make things, I'd like to recommend Tinkercad to you. It's like you can create objects for 3D printing with minimal skills. If you can use PowerPoint, you can use Tinkercad. Anybody here used Tinkercad before? Very good. I think they ought to be teaching Tinkercad in grade school because I believe the future generation, kids in school now, are going to need to know how to create 3D environments for creating products, but also creating virtual spaces. Everything is moving into the 3D realm. So let me turn you on to this real quickly. What did I say? Tinkercad. Tinkercad is free. They were bought up. It's so good they got bought up by Autodesk. I'm sure Autodesk will end up making people pay eventually, but just go to Tinkercad.com. I have my account here.
yeah, long password.
Yeah, my son trained me well. He's in information security. One side, in front of a lecture of 200 students, I logged in, and I thought I was at the password, and I was at the username. I typed it up, and I looked at it, and I said, damn, I'm going to have to change my password now. So with Tinkercad, like I say, it's as easy as PowerPoint, and mess around with this. It's really sophisticated. There's a professor in biology, Dr. Hammock, Elizabeth Hammock, who creates all kinds of things for her lab using Tinkercad and a 3D printer sitting in her space. You know, little clamps, little things. She created a little box to put the mouse in so the mouse could take a nap while they do things, nice things to it. But I mean, it's amazing the custom things she's made. And all you do is something like, bring a 3D object over here. You can expand it. And these are millimeter sizes, so you can get to millimeter specifications with this. You can rotate it, I think. Come on. Okay. Oh, jeez. I did it. This doesn't work at all. Okay, there we go. Control, you can click and drag. So you can see it from different angles. You can make it taller. You can rotate it. Okay, so it's easy to do a block. How do you do more complicated figures? Well, I can take a cylinder and put it here, make it bigger maybe. Got interesting. I ended up making it kind of oval. Okay, just like PowerPoint, I can select all three of these things. I can use my shift and multiple select, and then I can group them. Now they're one object. And now let's say I want to, this text, I want to put a word here. Let's see where I'm at now, I'm getting lost. Let's take my word out. Okay, I want to make this word taller. These are fine. Put it somewhere around here. Put it from the top. And I can change it into a whole. Just like that in the bottom, group them together. And you just created a negative space in my object. So you can cut chunks out of things by using objects in the negative, combine them. You can make just about anything. If you do a YouTube search on Tinkercad, you'll see time, sped up time, what do they call that?
Time lapses.
Time lapse of them making R2D2 and high detail stuff. But I had a student visit me this week who's making some things. I think she's in a contest. I don't want to give away what she's making. But I turn around to Tinkercad and she's creating it now in Tinkercad. She's going to 3D print it. As you 3D print things, it could be a little bit tricky. So, for instance, if I wanted to put a triangle on top of the circle over here, I hold Shift, of course, to make it even. All right, so now we can take it up. Oops, I missed. I know, this is the most exciting thing I've ever seen. Okay, so I now have a kind of roof on this thing. The problem is it's an overhanging structure. So if I was gonna, I could come over here and I can export it for 3D printing. It'll give me an STL file that I can import it to any 3D print job for the print. So they used to be able to export things into Minecraft too, which would be cool. The problem with printing this is as the 3D printer is laying down the material one layer at a time, it's gonna go to lay down material here. There's gonna be nothing under it. The material is gonna squirt out all over the place. So 3D printing itself has challenges. And so I might make this as a separate object and just glue them together when I'm done. Or sometimes you have an object that has a lot of overhanging structures in one orientation, but if you just turn it over, you can print it like a bowl. A bowl would be real hard if you do it with the open side down because you're printing over this, but if you turn it up like this, not so much anymore. There's a certain angle at which you start to spew filament out into the air. All right, so that's a little bit, I wanted to show you Tinkercad. It's cool and useful software. All right, so that's a computer-aided design, or CAD software. Good to use it. If you don't want to get into printing things yourself, you can go to Shapeways. Shapeways will be happy to produce your invention for you. And you just ship them your design, they print it. You can print with all different kinds of materials for different amounts of money. If it's something good, you can put it in the Shapeways store and start selling it. So there are services out there that will print things for you. Sometimes that's the fastest way to get to what you need. Prototyping apps. So, the value of a computer program. Nowadays, we talk about the full stack development. Remember on our tour, Wendy, of the local tech companies, they talked about they support full stack development. So if you want to create an app, whether it's delivered on the web or a mobile device installed, you just can't say, I need a programmer or a coder. There's all different types of expertise you need. I mean, you need to understand the server side, the back end of the programming. So when people submit or click something, what does the server send back? You need to understand how you work with databases. Almost all apps nowadays are database driven. How to interact with APIs with different tools that are out there. If you want to tie in with GPS, or if you want to tie in with Alexa AI. Anybody go to that session of that last night? Technol was doing a session on Alexa programming. Tonight?
What time and where?
6 in here.
It's at Domi.
At Domi.
Domi Station at 6. Apparently Google gave Technol, which is a student organization, a whole bunch of Alexas and tools to develop with it. Yeah. So anyway, that uses an API. If you want to tie into Watson artificial intelligence, that uses an API. How to develop the user interface and the user experience, that's the front end development. And then security concerns, there's all kinds of expertise. So again, this is what we talk about, the full stack. Everything from what the user experience is, all the way down to the operating system.
I've heard recently, a lot of new startups are shying away from starting apps just because, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And instead they're resorting to Facebook Messenger. You have messenger bots now, and you can let's say you want to schedule appointments. So you're a barber shop. You're like, maybe I should start an app. You could just build a messenger bot that will guide the person through that whole booking process. But you get over the barrier to entry of most people download an app a month. But everyone already has Facebook Messenger.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Facebook's been on a mission to take over the internet. They want to be the internet.
Yeah. For real.
Fighting that tooth and nail since they opened. But my advice to you is, you're young. Go take a coding course, learn to program. You're not going to be a CS major. Well, maybe you will be. There's some CS majors here. But dabble in this stuff. If you're going to be an innovator, and an inventor, and an entrepreneur, you need to know the tools of creativity.
I just wanted to mention too, because I've had several students use lynda.com training and actually using that. So a lot of people don't know they have that access to that. So if you want to
What's it called again?
LinkedIn.
It's called lynda.com. So
Oh,
if you go to your MyFSU, if you log into that and go to secure apps, it's there, and they've got training in just about anything, and it's free to you as a student.
Yeah, a lot of software training too.
Yeah.
Code Academy. There's lots of places to learn, even in town here. But learn the tools of innovation. Some engineering, some fabrication, some computer science, some code development. If you don't want to, spend your life at the command line typing code, make a friend with a computer science person. Right? Develop your team. You've got this engineer friend, a computer science friend. You've got, ideas as an entrepreneur. You understand the business side, perhaps, to contribute to this. The communication side, whatever it is, all of these skills are important in the ultimate product you develop. As is a hugely valuable is design. So if you're developing an app, the first thing you have to look at is, what is the user experience going to be like? Not only that, but marketing and developing your brand, all of that kind of thing. A lot of businesses have succeeded with not very good products, but amazing marketing and branding, right? So learn a little bit about design. Learn Illustrator, Photoshop. Learn to mess around with 3D graphics. Now's the time to do that. And doing it on your own is probably the best, just to go out and pick up these skills. But that's, engineering, computer science, and design are huge, toolboxes for entrepreneurs and innovators. And the more you can know about all of those things, the more impactful your invention can be. User experience design is really important though. So there's a lot of ways to prototype your app, and please do this if you're developing an app for the competition. Do a prototype, have it there, have screenshots of exactly what your app is going to look like with every tap of your fingers. And we're almost to the end of my slides here. I'll let you watch one more video. Show you a little bit about Proto.io.
Welcome Welcome to Proto.io, the world's most complete and powerful prototyping platform, trusted by thousands of people and companies around the world to empower their design process. Proto.io covers all your prototyping needs, early stage idea validation to fully animated, high-fidelity interactive prototypes. With Proto.io, there's no limits. You can prototype mobile, web, and desktop applications with unparalleled ease. Just drag and drop UI elements to create your prototypes. Add interactions and authentic screen transitions to create the flow of your app, and build sophisticated animations for any interaction design pattern with the easy-to-use timeline. Proto.io comes with a complete set of beautifully crafted UI libraries for iOS, Android, and other popular operating systems, so you can start prototyping instantly. If you have your designs ready, use our Sketch or Photoshop plugin. Proto.io will import them in layers, and with Dropbox Sync, you can always keep your work up to date. Preview your prototypes in the browser, or send them to your mobile device for a realistic mobile experience using the Proto.io app for iOS or Android. The result looks and feels like the real app. Share prototypes with anybody, from team members to customers, to receive valuable feedback, collaborate, and exchange ideas. Prototyping is about testing your idea before building it. And that's why Proto.io integrates with leading user testing tools that offer powerful feedback and insights. Live recordings, questionnaires, and tasks can help take your product to the next level. Use our Learn section to expand your prototyping skills with video tutorials, how-to guides, and detailed documentation for live webinars. Start using Proto.io now. If you have any questions, please get in touch with us. We're always happy to help.
Try it for free, whatever that means. 15-day full feature trial. Not sure what the price is after that. But there's several tools out there that I list on this slide. That support this, and it looks and feels like the real app, but it doesn't function. You're not connected to the database, it's not doing things. But people get a sense of what your app does and what to expect. And they talked about importing from Photoshop and things like that. Again, design is really crucial to app development. So if you're developing an app, bring out a technology person, bring out a design person, and don't, you need to consider whether they're going to be partners or what, but I usually encourage people to create partnerships and sharing with whatever your product ends up delivering. Because these people will provide you with incredible insight into what you're doing, what you need to do. So that's app prototyping. There's services and systems that you can prototype. Typically services and systems are either a combination of hardware and software. Sometimes there's a way of doing things, but all of the tools that we talked about for prototyping apply to any type of product. And it's all I was able to dig up as far as all the tools. I want to show you just a bit about the Innovation Hub. So this is under construction. If you go on Landis Green and look over by the Shores building, it's across from Johnston building there. You see a whole bunch of construction going on there. They've essentially gutted the first floor of the Shores building. They're in the process of putting walls up. I was over there this morning looking at where they're at. The Innovation Hub is going to have a large collaborative workspace for design thinking type of activities, lots of post-it notes. We're going to have a classroom in there, so innovation classes will take place in this space. We'll have a pitch room for an audience, kind of feedback for various types of business and idea pitches. We'll have a large maker space with 3D printers, laser cutters, Raspberry Pi circuit boards, Arduinos, vinyl cutters, all kind of stuff like that. The whole purpose here is to enable students to discover needs, imagine opportunities, design solutions, and share experiences in an innovative, collaborative, and entrepreneurial environment. We think of the Innovation Hub as complementing what the Jim Moran School of Entrepreneurship is going to be doing. The Innovation Hub will be open for all students to come and do exactly what I've been telling you about, working on teams, coming up with solutions. If if those solutions prove to be commercially viable, we will hook you up with people that you learn in school to see how to start a business. We're hoping this opens in January. We're sweating that date right now, but ultimately we'll have a cafe over there. We're going to have an artificial reality lab there. So the three largest technologies in artificial reality, including Microsoft HoloLens, we're going to be messing with that a bit. So a little augmented reality as well. We support design, hacking, coding, networking, space for student organizations, space for student meetings, whatever you have. Like that space is in high demand on campus here. Prototyping, be able to do everything we're talking about today in this presentation. So feel free to find us on Facebook, connect there for more information about what's happening. Just do FSU Innovation, and I think you'll come up with our page on Facebook. We are really interested in getting students involved in planning and setting up and creating policies around the whole space. We'd like to be a student-driven space for innovation. So with that said, what kind of questions do you guys have? Any questions about prototyping or any of the things we talked about? I can talk about everything.
How are we on time? No questions?
Yeah.
So, let's say you build a product, right? You have a product in mind. How do you know that you can make a business out of it? When you know it's just a product? It's like a one-hit wonder, right?
Right.
So can you sell it, or is it justifiable to just sell it and walk away, or do you try and turn it into something?
So when you say sell it, what do you mean?
So you patent it, let's say you license it to a company, or you just sell the patent to
I see. Sell your idea,
yes.
or
try and actually make something out of it. What if there's
or
just
start a business.
Yeah, what if there's just
start
bigger fish in the
manufacture.
industry? Yeah.
Yeah, that's beyond the scope of what we're talking about here. So that what presentation would the
You mean about like intellectual property part of it, or are you talking about like if you make a product, you don't really want to make a product, so I'm not sure where you're coming in on the question until you know that there's a potential market for it.
right?
So with prototyping, you make enough of a product to get feedback to see if you have a customer, but you can't really make a business out of it unless anybody's going to want to buy it. So before you spend a lot of money and time making it, get feedback and find out if there's a market or if there's customers.
So what if you've identified the market, identified the customers, you just see that it is a component in addition to an existing product? Is that justifiable to move it on and make it your own, or to just try and as an add-on to an existing product? So what would you have to prototype to see which where it can go?
It sounds like you got something very specific in mind. Is that right? So so for example, not to give away your idea. So you're talking about you might have an iPhone and your idea is for a special filter for the camera.
Yeah, on the iPhone.
There. Right. So so you have a component that attaches or a headphone.
So you need the other product for your product.
Yeah, so it's kind of like an add-on. Let's say I see this pen. This is a really good pen, but I have an idea to make this pen better. But it's just an add-on to this pen. Do I go ahead and start making a bunch of pens, with my addition, or do I just look into prototyping it to where it's viable enough to where I can go to whoever makes it, to the company and be like, hey, I found a way to make it a lot better.
See if you can sell it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how do you? What do you have to do? I guess in the prototyping phase, in the testing phase, to know what's the most viable option.
Well, I don't think it's part of the prototyping stage you're talking about. I mean, the prototyping stage brings you to the point where you say, I've got something that works that people want, right? I mean, whether you're going to start manufacturing or whether you're going to try to sell and patent it, that's a matter of business. It's all about your business model.
Right, what do you want to do? I mean, do you want to be in the manufacturing business of that part, or do you want to be like an inventor and patent it, then license it to the manufacturer? It's part of it is your own, what you want for your life. Do you want to be a manufacturer of parts and things, or do you want to be an inventor that it creates things, it's, proves the market, gets it validated. And then, but to license it, you do have to have a patent, right? Because otherwise they can just copy it.
Yeah.
So,
But I think as you work through the numbers, you'll figure it out, because you'll figure out what the manufacturing costs are, how many you're gonna have to sell to break even, and I think based on that, you would say, well, wow, this is cheap to make, and I can charge twice as much as manufacturing, and I'll be rolling in money in 5 years, so then you're not gonna say, here, Apple, buy my, so I think it's a matter of working through the numbers. That's what my logic tells me. Anything else? So what did you guys do in the makeup work thing?
See what we learned.
Cool. This time from hurricanes and this.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a creative solution. All teachers had to come up with something.
I learned some new stuff.
Okay.
that's good. And tomorrow, there's a roundtable in the incubator, which is in the business building, room 117, about web design and app development. So some people from FSU's IT that make the My FSU apps and things that are gonna be there presenting. So, and it's free pizza.